Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be exploring how emotional maturity can seriously level up your relationship game.
I'm excited to jump in.
We're pulling some awesome insights from this book called Emotional Maturity and Romantic Clarity.
Sounds juicy. I always love a good deep dive into relationships.
Me too.
That's
All right, so
a
the book kicks off talking about self-awareness.
self-awareness, the cornerstone of pretty much everything, right?
It feels like it.
Yeah.
But in terms of
Yeah.
romantic relationships, what's that connection? What does that look like in action?
Well, the book really stresses the importance of figuring out your emotional triggers.
Emotional triggers.
Yeah, you know those specific things that just set you off?
Oh, I know those.
Like when your partner criticizes the way you load the dishwasher.
Or forgets to put the cap back on the toothpaste. Every single time.
Exactly. Or maybe money talks make you want to shut down completely.
Oh, this is the worst.
Knowing these triggers is like having an early warning system.
You're saying it's like knowing where the landmines are in your emotional landscape.
Exactly. You can navigate things more carefully and avoid blowing up the whole relationship.
Okay, so I know my triggers.
Yeah.
Now what? What do we do with that information?
That's where the book's advice on reflective listening comes in.
Reflective listening.
It means you're really trying to understand your partner's perspective before reacting defensively.
So not just waiting for my turn to speak, but actually trying to get where they're coming from.
Precisely. You could even try summarizing their feelings.
To make sure I'm on the same page.
Yeah, it shows you're making an effort to see their side of things.
That's huge. Instead of jumping into fight mode, you're pausing.
Taking a breath.
Yeah, and trying to connect.
And that leads us to another key element. Empathy.
Empathy. Everyone talks about empathy, but what does that really look like in a relationship?
The book uses this amazing metaphor. It's about stepping into your partner's emotional shoes.
Not just looking at them from afar, but like actually feeling what they're feeling.
Exactly. It's not just head knowledge, it's heart connection.
And when you can do that, you create a sense of emotional safety.
Right.
Right.
That allows both of you to be vulnerable without fear of judgment.
Like building a safe haven where you can both just be yourselves.
Exactly. And speaking of safe havens, the book also delves into the concept of boundaries.
Boundaries. Such a tricky topic for so many people.
For sure. But the book is clear. Boundaries aren't about building walls.
They're not.
Nope. They're about creating a healthy space for both people to thrive.
Okay, so how does the book break it down? Like, what are boundaries in a relationship?
It talks about physical, emotional, and intellectual boundaries.
So, like, physical is respecting personal space. Emotional is protecting your feelings.
Exactly. And intellectual boundaries are about honoring each other's opinions even when you disagree.
Okay, all of that makes sense in theory, but how do I actually communicate those boundaries to my partner?
The book recommends starting with I statements.
I statements?
Yeah. Instead of saying, you always interrupt me, you could say, I feel unheard when I'm interrupted.
That takes the blame out of the equation.
And focuses on your own experience.
That's so smart. It's not attacking, it's expressing your needs.
And remember, setting boundaries is an ongoing process, not a one-time conversation.
That's so true. As your relationship evolves, your needs might change, and it's important to revisit those boundaries and make adjustments as needed.
You got it. It's like tending to a garden. You're constantly pruning and adjusting to make sure everything's thriving.
Love that analogy. Okay, we've talked about understanding ourselves and setting boundaries,
All right.
but what about handling stress as a couple? Life is full of curveballs.
Totally. And that's where emotional maturity becomes super crucial.
You mean mature couples handle stress differently?
They don't just weather the storm, they figure out how to dance in the rain together.
Ooh, I like that.
They've got a whole toolkit of skills.
Ooh, a relationship toolkit. Sign me up. What are some of those tools?
Well, one tool is mindfulness.
Mindfulness?
Yeah. It's about being present in the moment, not getting swept away by anxieties and worries.
So easy to say, so hard to do sometimes, right?
It is, but even something as simple as taking a few deep breaths together can make a world of difference.
Just taking a moment to pause and reconnect.
Exactly. It calms your nervous system and helps you think more clearly.
It's like hitting the reset button.
The book also talks about the importance of active listening, not just during conflicts, but in everyday life.
Well, I need to work on that.
It's about really tuning in to what your partner is saying.
So put the phone down, turn off the TV, and actually listen.
You got it. And this deep listening builds connection and trust.
It shows your partner you're there for them no matter what.
It's like saying, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here for you.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered some seriously insightful stuff in this first part of our deep dive.
We have, but there's so much more to explore.
Right. We'll be back in part 2 to delve even deeper into the practical strategies and techniques from emotional maturity and romantic clarity to help you build a truly rock-solid relationship.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into emotional maturity and romantic clarity.
Part 2. Ready to get even more practical.
Oh yeah, bring on the actionable advice.
All right, so in part 1, we talked about emotional regulation,
Hmm.
identifying those triggers.
Right, like knowing what sets me off.
But what happens when those triggers actually, get pulled?
Oh yeah, good point, because knowing is only half of the battle.
Exactly. So the book dives into some techniques for staying grounded in those heated moments.
Okay, give me those tools.
One that's super simple but powerful is the power of the pause.
Hour of the pause.
Yep. When you feel those emotions rising, just take a moment to step back before you react.
Like hitting the pause button on a movie.
Exactly. You get to choose whether to rewind or fast forward.
So in that pause, what am I supposed to be doing? Just chilling.
Well, the book suggests a few things.
Okay.
One is deep breathing.
Deep breaths. Classic.
It sounds cliche, but it really helps calm your nervous system.
Okay, so deep breaths. What else?
Another thing is shifting your internal dialogue.
My internal dialogue. What do you mean?
Those thoughts that are swirling around in your head.
Oh, right.
Like instead of thinking, they're doing this on purpose to annoy me,
Which I totally do.
try something like, maybe they don't realize how their actions are affecting me.
So it's like changing the script in my head.
Exactly. It helps you approach the situation with more understanding, even if you're still feeling upset.
Makes sense. So I'm breathing, I'm changing my thoughts. Anything else?
Well, sometimes those heated moments need more than just a pause.
Okay.
The book talks about taking a time out.
A timeout. Like when I was a kid.
Kinda. But it's not about storming off in anger.
Okay.
It's about respectfully letting your partner know you need some space to cool down.
I can see how that could easily be misinterpreted, though.
Oh, totally. Communication is key here.
So I need to be really clear about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Reassure your partner you're not abandoning the conversation, just stepping away for a bit.
So it's like, I love you, I'm not going anywhere, I just need a few minutes to myself right now.
Exactly. And when you come back together, make sure to acknowledge their feelings and validate their experience.
Got it. So timeouts can be a good thing.
If done right. Now let's talk about communication.
Okay. Communication, the foundation of any relationship.
Right. We touched on active listening in part 1, but the book dives even deeper, talking about emotional intelligence.
Ooh, emotional intelligence. Sounds complicated.
It's actually not that bad.
Okay, good.
It's about being aware of both your own emotions and your partner's.
Okay, so double the emotions, double the fun.
Not always. But it's about using that awareness to communicate more effectively.
So it's not just what I say, but how I say it.
And how you respond to what your partner is saying.
Right, like reading between the lines.
Exactly. The book talks about understanding how your past experiences might be coloring your current reaction.
Oh, that's so true. We all have baggage.
We do. And once you understand your own emotional landscape,
Yeah.
you can start to tune into your partner's emotions too.
So I'm paying attention to their words, their tone of voice, their body language,
All of it. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions.
instead of making assumptions.
Yes. Like, hey, is this what you're feeling? Help me understand.
Open communication builds trust.
For sure. Now, speaking of trust,
Ooh, what's next?
let's circle back to boundaries.
Oh yeah, those tricky boundaries.
In part 1, we talked about identifying your needs and communicating them.
Right.
But what happens when those boundaries are crossed?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
Yeah.
The book emphasizes addressing those violations directly and respectfully.
Okay, so no sleeping it under the rug.
Definitely not. Let your partner know a boundary's been crossed.
And explain how it made me feel.
Exactly. Again, it's not about blame.
It's about expressing my needs.
Exactly. And if the violation continues,
Uh-oh.
it might be time to seek professional guidance.
The therapist.
Yeah, they can help you navigate those tricky dynamics.
Good advice. Sometimes we need a little extra help.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears to a topic that's often overlooked but super important. Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. That's a tough one.
It is, but the book really breaks down the process.
Okay, lay it on me.
It starts with acknowledging the hurt.
So like letting myself feel those difficult emotions.
Yes. And then comes the hard part,
Which is,
trying to understand your partner's perspective.
wait, I have to understand why they hurt me.
Not necessarily why, but try to see the situation through their lens.
Even if I don't agree with their actions.
Exactly. It's about cultivating compassion.
Easier said than done.
Oh, definitely. But the book reminds us forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event.
Meaning I might have to choose it over and over again.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You might fall a few times.
And eventually you get the hang of it.
Exactly. Now, are you ready for another big one?
Bring it.
Vulnerability.
Ugh, vulnerability. Everyone's talking about it, but it still feels scary.
It can be. The book describes it as being brave enough to show your true self.
Imperfections and all.
Yep. Letting your partner see the real you.
So terrifying. It's like standing naked in the spotlight.
It can feel that way. But the rewards are amazing.
Okay, sell me all those rewards.
When you choose vulnerability, you invite your partner to do the same.
So we both get naked in the spotlight.
Kinda. You create a space where it's safe to be yourselves completely.
Sharing those deep fears and dreams.
Exactly. That mutual trust and vulnerability, that's the foundation for real intimacy.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light.
Good. It starts with small acts of vulnerability. Sharing a small fear or a secret dream.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Then you can gradually go deeper.
This is all great stuff about the internal work of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the external stuff? Like things we do together as a couple?
Those shared experiences.
Yeah, those. Do they play a role in emotional maturity, too?
Oh, absolutely. Shared experiences are like glue for relationships.
You mean those moments you look back on and laugh about?
Exactly. It could be anything from a romantic getaway to just cooking dinner together.
Creating memories.
Exactly. The book stresses the importance of quality time.
Quality time, not just quantity time.
Right. Putting down the phones, turning off the TV, really being present with each other.
Like actually looking into each other's eyes.
You got it. It could be going for a hike, attending a concert, anything you both enjoy.
It's about those moments you remember why you fell in love.
Beautifully put. And as you share those experiences, you're creating a shared history.
A foundation of love and laughter.
That can help you through the tough times.
This is a great reminder that it's not all about grand gestures. It's about those small, everyday moments of connection.
Exactly. But let's be real. Maintaining that connection takes effort.
Especially when life gets busy.
You're telling me. The book has some great tips for keeping that spark alive.
Okay, I need those tips. My life is chaos.
Well, communication is key, making sure you're still having those meaningful conversations.
Not just logistics and to-do lists.
Right. Talk about your dreams, your fears, what's exciting you.
It's about staying curious about each other even after years together.
Exactly. And don't forget the little things, those small gestures of love and appreciation.
Like a surprise coffee in the morning or a thank you for doing the dishes.
Exactly. Those little things go a long way.
Wow, we've covered so much ground already.
We have. But there's still more to come.
Oh, don't leave me hanging.
Don't worry, in part 3, we'll explore those big picture elements that can help you create a truly fulfilling and lasting love story.
Ooh, can't wait. Stay tuned, everyone. All right, welcome back for the grand finale of our deep dive into emotional maturity and romantic clarity.
I'm excited to wrap this up. It's been a great journey.
It really has. You know, throughout this deep dive, I keep coming back to this idea of like personal growth. Like, how does my own personal growth, my own emotional maturity impact the relationship?
That's a great question, and the book actually addresses that directly.
Oh, tell me more.
It basically says that individual growth isn't selfish. It's actually a huge gift to the relationship.
That's interesting. So it's not like I have to choose between working on myself or working on the relationship.
Exactly. It's more like as you become more self-aware, more emotionally mature, you bring a stronger, more grounded version of yourself to the partnership.
So it's like we're both leveling up individually, and that makes the relationship level up too.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about embracing that journey of continuous growth.
Together and separately.
Exactly. And that becomes even more important when life throws those inevitable curveballs.
Because life is messy.
Oh, tell me about it. Jobs change, finances fluctuate, families grow, all sorts of unexpected challenges pop up.
And the book talks about navigating those changes as a team, right?
It does. It's about shifting from that me versus you mentality to a we're in this together approach.
It's like that saying, teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. And you know, I was reading something recently about how conflict,
Oh, conflict.
can actually be an opportunity for a deeper connection.
Really? I usually run from conflict.
It's not about avoiding disagreements. It's about learning how to work through them constructively.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, the book offers some great strategies:
Lay it on me.
clear communication, active listening, a willingness to compromise, all that good stuff.
So basically, it's not about being right, it's about being connected.
Exactly. Sometimes it means putting your ego aside.
Ugh, my ego is loud.
But try to focus on understanding your partner's perspective, even if you don't fully agree.
That's tough,
Yeah,
but I see how it would make a difference.
it really does. Now, I know we touched on goal setting earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but the book suggests setting goals specifically for the relationship, even in long-term partnerships.
That's interesting because wouldn't it be easy to just coast along after years together?
It definitely could, but setting relationship goals helps you stay aligned.
So we're both moving in the same direction.
Exactly. It's about checking in with each other's hopes and dreams, both big and small.
I can see that, like planning a dream vacation together.
Exactly. Or discussing how you want to support each other's career aspirations.
Or even just figuring out a better way to divide those household chores.
All of that, it's about creating a shared vision for the future.
And making sure we're both on the same page.
Right. And as you set those goals, remember that relationships are a dance between togetherness and individuality.
That makes sense.
The book really highlights the importance of balancing individual growth with your shared life.
So it's like being a we without losing the me.
You nailed it. Each person needs to feel supported in pursuing their own interests,
Their own pests.
even as you're building a life together.
Like having two plants in the same pot, right?
I love that analogy. You need to give each plant what it needs to flourish individually, while also making sure they complement each other.
Creating a beautiful arrangement.
Beautifully put. It's about finding that balance.
Wow, this deep dive has been so insightful.
It really has. Emotional maturity and romantic clarity is full of gems.
Practical tools, insightful concepts, it's given us so much to think about.
It's a reminder that building a strong, lasting relationship is a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes effort, commitment, and that willingness to keep learning and growing.
Both as individuals and as a couple.
But the rewards are amazing
A relationship that can weather any storm.
and emerge even stronger and more loving.
Absolutely. So keep those conversations flowing.
Keep nurturing that connection.
And keep embracing that beautiful journey of love and growth.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration of a topic that matters to you.